let us continue on this trend towards a more responsible advertising. And thank you to RTL, I was going to say RTL F Connect, but I should say RTL Ad Alliance for putting up and for hosting such an interesting day. Sustainability first, and this is about inclusivity and accessibility. And I'm delighted, I don't know if we are the last panel, but I'm delighted to have a very great panel. I'll introduce people and then I'll say a few words about what this panel is all about. But with me today, I have, starting on my right, Fabrice Mollier, who is CEO of Canal Plus Brand Solutions. I've got Taide Guajardo, who is Chief Brand Officer for Procter & Gamble Europe. I've got Nicky, who is Global Planning Director at Wunderman Thompson, a WPP company, who happens to be also the proud winner of the Innovation Grand Prix in Cannes last year for a product on inclusivity. So I think she really deserves to be on this panel. And Harry Warren, who is the co-founder of an organization called Turn on the Subtitles. The talk of today is about two things. It's making TV accessible to as many people as possible, including people with disabilities such as hearing and visual impairment. But it's also about how advertising can be more inclusive and representative of people with disabilities and more inclusive in general, as it is a responsibility of the industry. My name is Katty Roberfroid, and I'm the Director General of Egta. This is not the point of the talk, but the reason why I'm here is because I run an organization that includes 163 TV and radio ad sales companies across 44 countries. And so when we decide as an industry to be a force for good and for inclusivity, it does carry some weight. Now, some 18 months ago, maybe a bit less, we were approached by Taide from Procter & Gamble, who explained to us that as a company, they had made it a priority to be inclusive, and obviously inclusive, but also to be accessible through their advertising to all people with disabilities, including, as I said, visual and hearing impairment. At the time, it was about mapping what was available, who was doing it, was there a legal obligation. We realized that there is a legal obligation when it comes to content, not yet when it comes to advertising, at least nothing mandatory or binding. But we quickly agreed that this should become a priority. I'm very proud to say that 2 weeks ago, we held our CEO's summit in Brussels, and we agreed as an organization that this should indeed become a priority, and that as sales houses, we would do our utmost to accompany advertisers and agencies on their journey. And so, Fabrice, you are certainly going to say to that. So we have very little time today. We said, let's not talk about the why. There's plenty of reasons why we need to do it. There's lots of audiences that are being left on the side, which need to be included. For brands and advertisers and TV stations, it's a way of maybe improving their image, reaching out to more people. But simply, let's be honest, it should just be the right thing to do. And that should be the very first reason. So rather than focus on the why, if we agree that this is the right thing to do, could you each explain in turn what it is you are doing, how you are being more inclusive on both sides of the equation, and what your organization stands for in this debate? So Fabrice, do you want to go first?
Men first.
Why not?
Not very nice, inclusion.
I'm an inclusive lady.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Katty, for having me here, and thank you, RTL. I am one of the 160 ad sales companies that are part of Egta. For us, but I will speak today as a media also. And let me see the 4 reasons why including everybody is a top responsibility and priority for us. First, as citizens or individuals, I want to do something for include everybody and make all the content accessible. Second, as a company, because we are, a company and we need to be accessible to any employee, and also as far as CSR is included. Third, as a media, and I will come to that in a second. And the fourth reason is, of course, and Taide will talk about that later. As an ad sales company, we want to make also solutions available for our customers to propose advertising that includes everybody. So if I can just share some comments about being a media, what does that represent, inclusion? For Canal Plus, which is a pioneer company, a pay TV operator, we have also free-to-air channels. It's a priority to make the content accessible to everybody, and everybody means everybody. And we cannot leave I mean, figures normally are about 10% of the population if we add all the disabilities out of the content. So better than just talking, I will share examples with you. We have a news channel, and we have every day a language sign special edition for the news. We have 200 programs a year that are audio described, movies, series. We air sport. We do a lot of sport at Canal Plus, and I want to share with you, it's very recent news. We air, I don't know how many are French here, but we air the rugby in France, the national championship, top 14, the name top 14. The semi-final that happened last week were the first sport competition that was audio described, and tomorrow is the grand final, and tomorrow it will be also audio described. And last example, because we also are content producer ourselves, we have a subsidiary which is Studio Canal, which exists in many countries. One series that was designed for Canal Plus but made in the UK by a subsidiary of Studio Canal, which is Years and Years. You may have heard of that series. This series, we didn't have to. We don't want to have quota in the characters, but it happened that in the cast, somebody in the wheelchair really was fantastic. It was not the role. They did not design a role we want one person with a wheelchair, but it happened that that character, that person was fantastic, and so we adapted all the script to make it normal that she's in a wheelchair and nothing happens. So it was not, I'm rather proud of that example because it's not quota, it's real life, and make something disability something normal. So this is what I wanted to share as media. I come back to what we do as a sales house.
Excellent. So I'm Taide Guajardo. I am a female. I'm wearing a white dress and I have white hair. And that's how we start all our presentations in P&G when we discovered that we were leaving out people that had visual impairments. And this journey started about a couple of years ago when we realized about this opportunity, which by the way is sizable, about 8 million people in Europe. And we said, okay, so let's make our advertising accessible. What do we need to do? Well, there's one technique, audio description. So you need to describe what's happening in the advertising to make it accessible. Okay, let's do it. So what does it take? Let's ask our agencies, production, let's make it happen. And then we realized when we went to the TV stations, hello, you cannot make it. There's not the technical capability to do this. It just did not exist. Nobody had thought about it. A few had thought about it, let me put it this way. Not everybody had thought about it. And that's what we said, well, we need to make a change. And that's when I went to Katty, and we're creating this movement, starting with creating awareness. There's this very important population that is just missing out. And second, we can do something about it. So I can say that right now that in many countries in Europe, we already have closed caption, which is kind of the starting point. We have about, in a few countries in Europe, not as many as I would like, already audio description. And we have, where we have not been able to do it, for example, in Greece, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria, we have 92% of our ads are subtitled. So we are trying to address the needs of this important piece of the population that we just had sincerely overlooked. Beyond the advertising, the other things that we're doing is representation in advertising. So we actually have a score that tells us, we started more with gender representation, but this also includes all types of people. And it goes all the way to packaging. It goes all the way to product. So if you see my name and follow me on LinkedIn, I have just posted. It went live right now. We made an innovation with a company called Navilens and Pantene. If you are viewing impaired, you can go to the shelf and you don't need to ask people to tell you where the shampoos are or what are you buying, but actually you can scan with your phone a QR code and it will describe what you are seeing, and it will tell you which is the variant, and it will tell you what is inside that product. It sounds very basic, but that's something that really these people were not able to do. Are not as lucky as we are. So those are just a few examples of what we're already doing to take action, Katty.
Hello. So I'm Nicky. I work for Wunderman Thompson. As Katty said, it's a big global advertising agency, and I specifically work on Unilever and IKEA, both of whom are obviously very inclusive brands. Everyone's already alluded to the fact that 15% of the global population has a disability, 26% in the US. But what always strikes me is that all of us will end up with some kind of disability. if we live to the age that we hope to. So this isn't about some underrepresented minority group. It's about everyone over 50 that needs reading glasses. It's about every woman over 60 that loses 40% of her grip in the ability to hold things. At Wunderman Thompson, we have an inclusive design practice, and actually we started with product design rather than advertising and comms design, because we realized that many advertisers were trying to be more inclusive in their representation, not always successfully. It's challenging, actually, because as a planner, my role is to kind of identify real insight, and we talk about intersectionality, so someone who might have a disability might well have... and none of us can hear either if we're in Cannes, right? But we realised that a lot of brands that wanted to be more inclusive, people couldn't actually use the products. So the award last year was for a deodorant, which is just as important to people with disabilities as all of us, and actually probably more so if you use a wheelchair or it's hard work to get around. It's very difficult to apply deodorant if you're disabled. And as you said, both from a visual impairment point of view, whether that's braille or a QR code on pack, or just the physical product itself. So yeah, the agencies, it's a challenge. It's not actually that easy to write good audio description. We're having to make sure that our creatives are aware of all the different technologies that exist, but also build in time to make sure that everything is closed captioned, has alt text or audio description. And as I said, actually creatively, we're here to celebrate wonderful creativity, aren't we? So it's not enough to just sort of shove on some subtitles that actually aren't insightful or that emotionally engaging. It's an opportunity to engage and be creative, in this field too. Can anyone hear any of us?
Can anyone hear anything? Oh, okay, cool. Maybe I should do this through.
Put it closer.
Maybe I should do this through interpretive dance instead.
Is this really good enough? It's cut out.
To this one.
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me better now? Yeah. Ah, brilliant. I'm going to wear sunglasses in protest to this. So I feel like a total fraud being here. I know nothing about advertising at all. I'm an entrepreneur and an investor. But I came here today to tell you a secret. But before I do that, I just want to talk to you a little bit about literacy. It's not something that we talk about very often, right? Here's the thing. When children leave school with low levels of literacy, they are 3 times more likely to be incarcerated. They are 3 times more likely to be hospitalized. They are 3 times more likely to die young. Literacy really matters. But this is not like a niche thing, right? In the UK, 28% of kids leave school with subpar literacy. And that number rises to 45% amongst the poorest demographics. And here's the kicker. The UK is one of the better countries in the world when it comes to literacy. Literacy really matters. So what are we going to do about it? Well, there is actually one really simple secret that we can apply today. Just turn on the subtitles. It makes a massive difference. In fact, it doubles the chance of a child leaving school as a proficient reader. Doubles it. You just have to turn it on. So, here's why. The average child in the UK watches 11.8 hours of TV per week. In the US, it's significantly higher. 11.8 hours of TV. Now, if they watch it with the subtitles on, it's all gone hush now. If they watch it with the subtitles on, over the course of a year, they will read the same number of words that are in all of the Harry Potter books, all of the Lord of the Rings books, all of the Narnia books, and everything that Roald Dahl ever wrote combined in a year. It has a staggering impact. You just have to turn the switch. So anyway, I found out about this about a couple of years ago. I got sent this article from The Guardian, and it was late at night. I was in London, and one of the guys that was cited in this was this professor from Hawaii. I thought, well, it's late at night here. It'll be a reasonable time there. So I rang this dude, and I grilled him. He was very patient. I grilled him for about an hour, And by the end of this, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And he put me in touch with this slightly eccentric professor. I managed to track him down in a village in India. He was running. I could take the sunglasses off now because now it's stopped raining. I tracked him down to this village in India and said to him, well, look, can you send me the evidence for this? Which is a kind of stupid thing one says, right? And so he sent me like 450 academic papers from right the way around the world. And it was at that juncture that I remembered that I'm not an academic and I can't tell good research from bad. So I got in touch with the National Literacy Trust and asked them to take a look at it. So they came back a few months later and they said, this is nuts. How did we not know about this? So anyway, what we then did was we synthesized all this data into a couple of slides of A4. I thought, here's what we'll do. We'll send it to all these broadcasters. They will see this, they'll see the light, they'll turn the subtitles on by default. Defaults really matter. They'll turn the subtitles on by default, and there'll be rainbows, unicorns, children will read, it'll all be fabulous. I think you can see the punchline coming here. Nothing happened. There was like digital tumbleweed. So I went to this god-awful conference, not like this is lovely. I went to a very terrible conference in London, and after this, I sat down with my friend Ollie. We were like, I don't think anyone's going to do this. So we thought, right, we'll give it some of our time, around our day jobs. So we created this campaign called Turn on the Subtitles. Literally scribbled on the back of a napkin. There's 3 parts to the campaign. 1, bully legislators. Try and change legislation. 2, bully broadcasters. Try and get them to do it. 3, tell the public about it. So I don't know anything about PR either, but I have a reasonably good address book. So I just rang a bunch of celebrities and said, look, could you help us get this message out? So in the UK, we launched it with Stephen Fry, and then Sandy Toksvig, Rachel Riley, Philip Schofield, Selene Henry, and Sanjeev Bhaskar. And it went nuts. We had 47 million impressions, I think, on Twitter in the first 48 hours. Hit the front page of Reddit 3 different times. Pretty much every major broadcaster picked it up, talked about it, all the broadsheets. It was crazy. And that then led to the first of the broadcasters, Sky, creating a literacy zone on Sky Q. So you can now watch SpongeBob SquarePants and Scooby-Doo with subtitles on if you wish. Love SpongeBob. The next one we teamed up with Moonbug and created Moonbug Literacy, and that then blew up. So we had half a billion views a month on YouTube at the moment, which is insane. So I realize I need to be really quick. Yeah. So let me tell you quickly what we're doing here and why the hell I'm actually here. So right now, we changed the law in India, by the way. So by 2025, 50% of all content will have subtitles on by default. So it's now the world's largest ever literacy project. It's impacting about 400 million kids, but we're failing because we've still got 1.6 billion children that we need to help. So I'm here talking to fabulous broadcasters, fabulous brands about getting involved in this, because I want brands to sponsor subtitles on kids' TV programs. And just a huge hat tip to RTL and Chris over here, who is taking this and running with it. Just so impressed by you and your team, man. Anyway, I'll shut up now. I've taken far too much time.
No, thank you very much. And by the way, there's another function to subtitles now. It's being heard in Cannes when it rains. I guess it would help to have subtitles in the back at some stage. When we did, so after being contacted with you, we went out to the membership and saying, okay, who's already doing it? Who is not only on content, there's quite a few members who are already doing the subtitles, the closed captions, the audio description, as we heard. Maybe not as a put them on by default. Maybe that's the one thing where we can help. On the advertising side, there's very few. And one of the reasons why there's very few, we heard, is there's a kind of a vicious circle that needs to be broken. Hence the idea of this panel here in Cannes. Basically, the broadcasters who have the technology, because they have it for content, they could very easily make it available for advertising. There's a little bit of fine-tuning to be done. There's a little bit of automation that needs to take place for that to happen. It's not happening because the demand isn't there from advertisers yet. The demand is not there because the broadcasters don't advertise the fact that their services could be made. So you see where I'm getting at. So how do we break this vicious circle? And also for broadcasters, it's relatively easy because from what I understand now, it actually has to come from first the advertiser and the agency that need to design advertising, and same holds on for content, that is adaptable with accessible services. So how do we break the vicious circle, and how do you each contribute?
Okay, it's not, I mean, it's technically difficult. So it took us, as a program provider, months to have the good audio tracks, because we also have original language. When people want to see a series, they want to see it in English or French, for instance. So it's an additional track for audio description. And for subtitles, we also have the original subtitles. So it has to be, different tracks to converge into the screen. For advertising, actually, we did it without knowing if there was demand, or we just on a very informatic. I mean, we designed everything to be compatible with advertising. Without nobody asked for it. Actually, we put it in our general conditions last year, which was like 2 sentences, page 47. So we didn't notice it, and we didn't market it. So we heard about the Procter & Gamble initiative. We love that. Actually, we're doing currently tests with some Procter & Gamble spots to be aired from September in new campaigns, if we had the budget. And I have some good news to share, is that we had a management board meeting, and I talked about that, saying it's a topic which is developing. As you said, it's a virtuous circle, so Procter & Gamble is the first one to ask about it. And our chairman decided, because I said before that there were 4 reasons why it was important: as a citizen, as a media, as a company, and as a sales house, but we also are advertiser ourselves. Maybe not Procter & Gamble, but maybe top 20 or something in France. And our chairman decided, okay, I will be the second one, because if we want to move faster, so first one will be Procter & Gamble, second one will be us. So from these 4, the Canal Plus spots will be auto-described and subtitled. Just to add an additional comment, it's not putting the subtitles, it starts with the creative. So you were right, we already talked with the agency, because it starts with a creative agency, and it takes months. So if we come in a campaign that starts within 2 weeks, it's late. So
just to add to that, I think what can we do? First, I think we need to be activists. Okay, I'm not going to climb the palais to drive attention to this, but drive awareness of the opportunity is step number 1, because I am surprised how many people, when we talk about this, they're like, oh, I had not thought about it. So there's a very basic low-hanging fruit to go after. And then second is influence the right players that can make the biggest impact. So this is why we talk to Katty. This is why I'm here. We have actually agreed with the World Federation of Advertisers. This will be part of the DI agenda. And that's something that, even if we are the largest advertiser in the world, we will not make the difference. We need to do this as an industry. And lobbying in this type of places, including also the European Disability Forum, is what we need to do to drive awareness. And last but not least, working with our agencies, we were just talking before the break, wouldn't it be great that the production companies, both digital and video, just have it as default? Like, they are delivering a product that has audio description by default without even asking for it. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, entirely agree. Entirely agree. It's interesting as an agency, because originally I think we were waiting for clients to brief us to be more inclusive or more accessible. And actually we're spending a lot more time now training our creatives and creative departments so that they do treat it as a matter of course, include it early enough, as you say, and in an insightful enough way. Because this really isn't a mechanical thing. It's not something that can be automated to do it well. So yes, I agree. But I was interested that if it can be woven into contracts and requirements and processes, rather than having to be reinvented every time for every campaign, that would definitely simplify it.
Yeah, we need to develop standards.
One of the good news, I just attended last week, there was a meeting of all the accessibility services directors from the public service broadcasters gathered to exchange know-how about technology. And you were mentioning the problem of tracks. That can be an issue. Indeed, if you broadcast in surround sound, for example, you already use like 8 tracks. And so there's lots of technological solutions that are being developed, be they HBB TV. There's companies in Germany, for example, that have developed a mobile app where you can synchronize the audio description on your mobile phone and synchronize it with the TV. Same thing with the Alexas of this world. So you can download and get the audio description on your Alexa and make that available. So I think triggering those exchanges is something that really needs to do. When we discussed, first you took the call to the WFA. So would you say that more brands are about, so you're going to be second, Fabrice, or third or fourth, and which is a good thing. Is that a
absolutely?
Call
I got honestly an enthusiastic response from all the members of WFA, and I quote one of my competitors said, "This is a place where I don't want to compete. We should all do it." So absolutely encouraging response.
Exactly. One of the issues is also for global brands like yourself, you need to design the campaigns with the reality of multiple countries in mind. You were mentioning India. Somebody was explaining to us, when you design a campaign, you also have to think that the kind of accessibility service that's going to be most useful to certain people, in some cases could be subtitles because of the literacy thing. For some people, it could be something else. It could be sign language, which is actually maybe easier. So how do you, as an agency and an advertiser, bring the awareness that it has to be international campaigns and it has to start way, 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 way up? So isn't it a political commitment that you need first, like a determination that this is going to be the way we move forward?
Or else it is a priority. So I can talk for P&G, I can talk for Europe. This is I've made my internal battles, and I have full support. So the brands are ready. Actually, they were readier before the technology was ready. So we're ready to go.
Any comment on?
Just that it is more complicated, and I think your average team, account team, creative team working on a brand, it is challenging. There are kind of legal requirements, as you say. There's kind of different accessibility tools, different accessibility behaviours. We're kind of building that knowledge and understanding over time, because I'm certainly not aware of any central repository of best practice. We certainly feel we're figuring it out a little bit as we go along.
I think that goes to the fact that we were saying before. We could go much faster if there were standards, if there were best practices, if we had codified. And actually, you have it. There you go. I'm going to make a spot for this. This is what Egta has started doing, actually codifying what is the best practice, what is the technology available. I was happy to hear from Katty that already in Oslo, she learned about technologies that are already making this obsolete because it's advancing so fast. So that's what we need to do as an industry, so we can go as fast as we can and simplify the work for everybody.
When it comes to subtitles and the logistics and the costs, I'll do it for you. So, okay, I want you to picture the scene. You're sat there with your 6-year-old on your knee. You're watching Bob the Builder. And a title card, an interstitial, appears at the front. And on it says 3 things. 1, subtitles are on to help your child read. 1. 2, these subtitles are at reading age 8. And now you're feeling very smug because your child is reading at age 8. So I built a little piece of software to do this. It's actually not that hard. 3, these subtitles are sponsored by insert brand here. So I ran this as a pilot in Kenya at the end of last year. It went staggeringly well. Turns out broadcasters quite like free money, and they love a great PR campaign that allows them to talk about co-watching and the power of the screen versus a mobile. Turns out that brands love innovative ways to get to market and the halo effect of doing something incredibly cool in terms of literacy. So I'll pay for it.
Go ahead.
I'm afraid in some countries, such as France, it would be forbidden. You cannot mix program and sponsoring, so you couldn't do that. But you could advertise it in another way, on a PR or something like that. The fact that the brands are sponsoring the subtitles. If I can bring an additional comment, as you mentioned at the WFA and just stated a minute ago, it's a topic where there is no competition. So we are happy to be copied by competitors on that. And we at Egta, we decided to, apart from that, we decided that TV should bring that as a medium. And because we do it for editorial reasons, because we are a mass media, so we want to be the first medium to commit in making all the advertising available. So it's a move that I'm happy to share any best practice, whether it's technical or anticipation with editorial and so on. And it's still a little bit competition at the end, because if TV does it, I know that some platforms don't do it. So for advertisers, it may be also, when they choose the way they spend their money, also maybe a criteria.
Yeah, because when
Why
you say
not?
Taide that you want advertising to be accessible, it's across screens. You don't make a difference between
At the
the
end.
TV screens and the content.
Absolutely.
So maybe ending this panel, what's the call? I mean, we have a broadcaster, we have a brand, we have an advertiser, and we have somebody who clearly make a very brilliant call for why the subtitles should be turned on. What is the call you'd like to make to the people who are here, and how do we make it happen? That it doesn't stay a promise made in Cannes, but something that really. So, what's the next step concretely? Do you have a call that you'd like to make to each other as a part of the industry?
Again, the solution is moving now. So we have to put that in practice. Then first advertiser, then a second one, then let's bring 10, 20 and make it something normal. Like I was saying about content, the same has to be for advertising. I think I don't want people or states make us commit. I prefer anticipate this for the future. So we're available to talk with other broadcasters, with advertisers, of course, with agencies, with everybody, to make it happen.
On my side, I would just say, just do it. Just do it. I mean, there's the guide to start. Just do it. You know, it's good for the business and it's good for the people.
Exactly.
Just do it.
Where does the definition of standards need to come from? Because I know that this is one of the things that you're discussing with the WFA, is how do we simplify the whole effort by standardizing? What is it that needs to be standardized? The technology on the broadcaster end, I think it's there because the subtitles and the audio description tracks and all of that is being designed for content, so we can benefit. On the advertiser side and on the agency side, can something be standardized that would make your job and your job easier?
Absolutely, yes. So technology, as you said, needs to be standardized. Also the methods, there's many different methods. There's subtitles, there's audio description, there's closed captioning. So there's many methods, many different technologies. So the standardization of that. From an agency and production standpoint, I think we need to standardize the method on what is the best way to do audio description that lets us do it in a mass level, at scale. And this needs to be embedded into the contracts of production of every single agency, in my view.
I'm not a lawyer. I think that sounds very sensible, but I think from an agency point of view, it should be in every single creative brief. I think if every brief included accessibility and inclusion.
I think actually we should not even ask for it. I mean, my point is it should just come, like, just come. That's my aim. That's my dream. It should just come, like, without it. Actually, you need to opt out. That's my dream.
Henry?
So my call to action is I want to talk to brands that give a shit. Brands that actually want to do something at a massive scale and have a huge impact. I also want to talk to broadcasters that give a shit and that want to do stuff at a massive scale. And I'd like it to stop raining.
Good. One of the good news is that nothing is being spared to us, right? One of the good news is that there are a lot of trade organizations. Egta is one for sales houses. There's the likes of Thingbox, who's here, also representing the broadcasters. There is a trade body that represents agencies, and there is a trade body that represents advertisers. So my commitment as Egta is to work hand in hand with the WFA and with the EACA on the agency side. And let's collectively make it all happen. Fabrice, you had the last word you wanted to say, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to end with, we're staying like maybe half hour more because you cannot leave anyway. So, no, I just wanted to end with a more pessimistic. Sorry, normally we open at the end of the panel, but to be frank, it's a long way. It's a long way in terms of broadcasting, because even if we do it as broadcaster, then there are so many different TV sets, way of broadcasting the signals, set-top boxes, mobile devices, and so on, that if we do the subtitle, they don't get to everybody at the same time. It's a long, long way. So it starts with doing us ourselves, then to check satellite, ADSL, terrestrial, etc., etc. But we know that some flow don't work and won't work at the time. But it has to start.
But I guess the name of your company is a good way to end this panel. Let's turn on the subtitle and let's turn on all the accessibility services, and hopefully this become best practice, and there can be more awards in Cannes next year around how beautifully we've done as an industry. So thank you for being part of this panel. Thank you very much. I didn't ask if there was a question. If there was a question, but in any case, the panelists are here to answer them. I did bring some of the guides along, so feel free to grab one, pass it around. It's available on our website also for people to see. Thank you, and thank you to RTL Alliance.